Welcome to my YouTube channel, The Storyverse Legends. On my channel, the video I upload doesn't contain any AI content, any robotics, or any fake voices. So, without any wasting of time, let's go to the video.
At the edge of Blackthorn Forest stood a mansion that seemed forgotten by time itself. The locals called it Ravenwood House. Its towering walls were cracked and weathered. Broken windows stared out across the forest like hollow eyes. Thick vines crawled over the stone exterior, and even on the brightest days, strange darkness seemed to cling to the property. For over 100 years, terrifying stories surrounded the house. Some claimed they heard voices coming from inside when no one was there. Others swore they saw figures watching from the upper windows. But one story stood above all the rest. Nobody who stayed inside Ravenwood House for 7 nights had ever survived. The legend had become so famous that people traveled from distant cities just to see the cursed mansion. Most left after a few minutes. A few brave souls entered. None stayed long. And those who attempted the full 7 nights never returned. When journalist Ethan Carter first heard the story, he laughed. At 28 years old, Ethan had built a career investigating mysteries. Urban legends and supposedly haunted locations. Most turned out to be exaggerated stories fueled by fear and imagination. He expected Ravenwood House to be no different. Still, something about the case bothered him. Every disappearance connected to the mansion was real. Every death had been documented. Yet no one could explain what had happened. Determined to uncover the truth, Ethan packed his cameras, recording equipment, food supplies, and enough batteries to last an entire week. His goal was simple: spend 7 nights inside the house. Document everything. And prove once and for all that the curse was nothing more than a myth. As he arrived in the nearby town, nervous residents watched him from shop windows. An elderly waitress at a local diner offered one final warning. "Leave before sunset," she said quietly. When Ethan asked why, the woman's face turned pale. "My brother entered that house 30 years ago," she lowered her voice. "He never came back." Hours later, Ethan stood before the rusted gates of Ravenwood House. The forest around him was strangely silent. No birds, no insects, nothing. The mansion loomed above him like a giant shadow. As he approached the front door, he noticed something unusual. Fresh footprints led directly inside. Someone had entered recently. Feeling a sudden mix of curiosity and unease, Ethan switched on his camera. "Day 1," he said. Then he stepped through the doorway. The instant he crossed the threshold, the massive front door slammed shut behind him. The sound echoed through the mansion, and somewhere deep within the darkness, a child began to laugh.
The child's laughter echoed through the darkness. Then everything became silent. Ethan Carter stood motionless in the grand entrance hall of Ravenwood House. His camera continued recording as his heartbeat pounded in his ears. The sound had been real. He was certain of it. Trying to stay calm, Ethan told himself there had to be a logical explanation. Maybe another person was inside the mansion. Maybe someone was trying to scare him away. He switched on his flashlight and slowly scanned the room. Dust floated through the air like tiny ghosts. Torn wallpaper hung from the walls. A massive staircase stretched upward into darkness. The house looked abandoned. Yet it didn't feel abandoned. It felt occupied. As Ethan approached the staircase, something caught his attention. Mud. Fresh, muddy footprints covered the floor. The same footprints he had seen outside. They led directly up the stairs. Curiosity overcame fear. Holding the flashlight in one hand and the camera in the other, Ethan followed the trail. Every step creaked beneath his weight. The deeper he climbed, the colder the air became. When he reached the second floor, he stopped. The hallway ahead seemed endless. Rows of closed doors lined both sides, and the muddy footprints continued straight ahead. Ethan followed them carefully. Then suddenly, the tracks stopped. Not faded, not turned around. Simply vanished. As if whoever made them had disappeared into thin air. A chill ran down his spine. Before he could investigate further, a soft knocking sound echoed through the hallway. "Knock! Knock! Knock!" The sound came from one of the closed rooms nearby. Ethan slowly approached the door. The knocking stopped. Silence returned. Taking a deep breath, He turned the doorknob and pushed the door open. The room was empty. Almost in the center of the room stood a small, wooden, rocking horse. He gently rocked back and forth, as if someone had just climbed off it moments ago. Ethan stared in disbelief. There was no wind, no movement, nothing that could explain it. Then his camera screen suddenly flickered. Static filled the display. For less than a second, another image appeared. A little girl standing directly behind him. Ethan spun around. The room was empty. No girl. No footsteps. Nothing. His hands trembled as he replayed the footage. The image remained. The pale girl was definitely there. Watching him, a loud bang suddenly exploded somewhere downstairs. Then another. And another. Doors slammed throughout the mansion. The entire house seemed to awaken. As Ethan rushed back into the hallway, every grandfather clock inside Ravenwood House began chiming at once. Midnight had arrived. And from the far end of the hallway, two glowing white eyes slowly opened in the darkness. The grandfather clocks fell silent. For a moment, the hallway was completely still. Then the glowing white eyes blinked. Ethan Carter froze. At the far end of the corridor, something stood hidden within the darkness. He couldn't see its body, only those unnatural eyes staring directly at him. The air suddenly felt colder. His breath became visible. Every instinct told him to run. Instead, he slowly raised his camera. The glowing eyes remained motionless. Watching, waiting. Ethan zoomed in. The camera screen flickered. For a split second, the figure became visible. Tall, extremely tall. Its head nearly touched the ceiling. Its arms seemed far too long for a human body. Then the image vanished. The creature was hidden once again. A loud creak echoed through the hallway. The figure took a step forward. The sound sent a wave of fear through Ethan's body. Another step. Closer. The floorboards groaned beneath its weight. Suddenly, Ethan's flashlight died. Darkness swallowed everything. His heart pounded. He slapped the flashlight. Nothing. The hallway disappeared into blackness. Then he heard breathing. Heavy, slow, and much closer than before. Panic finally took over. Ethan turned and ran. His footsteps thundered through the mansion as he raced toward the staircase. Behind him came the sound of slow footsteps. Not running, not chasing, simply following, as though the creature knew he could never escape. Ethan reached the first floor and nearly fell down the last few steps. He grabbed a backup flashlight from his equipment bag and switched it on. The beam illuminated the staircase. Nothing. The hallway above was empty. The glowing eyes had vanished. Breathing heavily, Ethan tried to calm himself. But deep down, he knew he hadn't imagined it. Something was inside Ravenwood House. Something alive. As dawn approached, Ethan decided to explore the mansion while daylight remained. Hours later, he discovered a large library hidden in the west wing. Thousands of old books covered the walls. Most were ruined by age. While searching the room, Ethan noticed a bookshelf that looked newer than the others. Curious, he pushed against it. A hidden latch clicked. Slowly, the bookshelf swung open. Behind it was a secret staircase descending underground. A foul smell drifted upward. Rotting wood, damp earth, and something far worse. Gathering his courage, Ethan stepped into the darkness. At the bottom of the stairs, he entered a hidden chamber. Ancient symbols covered the walls, and resting on a dusty table was a leather-bound journal. Its cover bore a single name: Vitor Ravenwood, the original owner of the mansion. As Ethan opened the first page, a chilling sentence was written across the paper. To whoever finds this journal, leave now while you still can. And somewhere deep beneath the house, a child began laughing again. The sound of the child's laughter echoed through the hidden chamber. Then it stopped. Ethan Carter stood alone beneath Ravenwood House, staring at the journal resting on the dusty table. His flashlight trembled slightly in his hand. The warning on the first page felt disturbingly sincere. To whoever finds this journal, leave now while you still can. Ethan swallowed hard and continued reading. The journal belonged to Victor Ravenwood, the wealthy businessman who had built the mansion more than a century earlier. At first, the entries seemed normal. Victor wrote about his family, his fortune, and the construction of the house. But as the pages continued, his writing began to change. It became frantic, obsessive, terrified. According to the journal, Victor had become obsessed with cheating death after losing his young daughter to a mysterious illness. Unable to accept her death, he searched for forbidden knowledge. He traveled across the world. He studied ancient rituals. And eventually, he discovered something hidden within the Blackthorn Forest. Something old. Something evil. Victor called it the Watcher. The journal described it as a creature that existed between life and death. A being that promised miracles. But every miracle came with a terrible price. Victor believed the Watcher could bring his daughter back. Instead, he unleashed a curse upon his home. As Ethan turned another page, he found a sketch. His blood ran cold. The drawing showed a tall figure with glowing white eyes. The same figure Ethan had seen in the hallway. The same creature that had followed him through the mansion. The Watcher was real. A loud thud suddenly echoed from somewhere above. Ethan looked toward the staircase. Another thud followed. Then another! It sounded like something heavy moving through the walls. The noise grew louder. Closer, almost as if the house itself had heard him reading the journal. Ethan quickly continued. The final entries revealed an even darker truth. Victor had never escaped the curse. The Watcher demanded a new soul every 7 nights. Each victim made the creature stronger. Each death fed the mansion itself. The house wasn't simply haunted. It was alive. The final page contained only 4 words, scratched deeply into the paper. Do not reach night 7. At that exact moment, the chamber door slammed shut. The sound shook the room. Dust rained from the ceiling. Then Ethan heard footsteps. Slow, heavy, descending the staircase. Something was coming underground. Something that knew exactly where he was. And as the footsteps grew closer, 2 glowing white eyes appeared at the top of the stairs. The glowing white eyes remained fixed on Ethan Carter. At the top of the staircase, a tall shadow slowly emerged from the darkness. The chamber suddenly felt much smaller, much colder. Ethan's pulse pounded in his ears as the figure took its first step downward. Then another, and another. Each footstep echoed through the underground room like a drumbeat of doom. For the first time, Ethan saw the creature clearly. The Watcher was far taller than any human. Its skin appeared gray and stretched tightly over its unnaturally thin body. Long arms nearly reached its knees, and its face looked almost human except for its glowing eyes and wide, unnatural smile. The thing stopped halfway down the staircase. It tilted its head. Watching! Studying! As if deciding what to do next. Ethan slowly backed away from the stairs. His flashlight beam trembled across the creature's face. The Watcher never blinked, never moved. Then it spoke. Its voice sounded like dozens of voices speaking at once. Men, women, children, all trapped together. You should have left. The words echoed throughout the chamber. A wave of fear washed over Ethan. Yet something else caught his attention. The voices sounded familiar. Some of them were pleading, begging, almost as if the victims were still alive somewhere inside the creature. The Watcher took another step forward. The chamber lights flickered. Ancient symbols carved into the walls began glowing with a faint red light. Suddenly, a loud crack echoed beneath Ethan's feet. The stone floor shifted. A section of the ground collapsed nearby, revealing a deep pit below. From the darkness came whispers. Hundreds of whispers. Thousands. Ethan aimed his flashlight downward. What he saw nearly stopped his heart. Faces. Dozens of pale faces emerged from the darkness beneath the floor. They weren't just faces frozen and expressions of terror. The trapped souls of the victims. The people who had vanished inside Ravenwood House over the last 100 years. One face suddenly moved. A young girl, the same girl Ethan had seen on his camera. She looked directly at him. Then she pointed toward a stone wall behind the chamber. At first, Ethan didn't understand. Then he noticed something unusual. A strange symbol had appeared on the wall. It was glowing brighter than the others. A hidden passage. The girl was trying to help him. The watcher noticed it too. Its smile vanished instantly. For the first time, the creature seemed afraid. A terrible roar erupted from its throat. The entire chamber shook violently. Dust poured from the ceiling. And before Ethan could react, the watcher launched itself from the staircase and charged directly toward him. The watcher charged across the chamber. Its glowing eyes burned through the darkness as its long limbs carried it forward with terrifying speed. Ethan Carter didn't hesitate. The moment the creature lunged, he sprinted toward the glowing symbol on the far wall. Behind him, the watcher's roar shook the underground chamber. Stone cracked. Dust filled the air. The trapped faces beneath the floor screamed in unison. Ethan reached the wall and slammed his hand against the glowing symbol. A deep rumble echoed beneath the ground. Then the stone walls split apart. A hidden passage slowly opened. Without looking back, Ethan rushed inside. The narrow tunnel twisted deep beneath Ravenwood House. Strange symbols covered the walls, glowing faintly with blue light. The watcher's furious screams echoed behind him. It was following. Fast. At the end of the tunnel, Ethan entered a circular chamber unlike anything he had seen before. In the center stood a black stone altar, and floating above it was a glowing crystal. The crystal pulsed like a living heart. The moment Ethan saw it, he understood. This was the source of the curse, the power that had kept the Watcher alive for more than a century. Suddenly, the little girl appeared beside the altar. For the first time, she looked peaceful. "My name is Emily," she said softly. "The Watcher took me first." Ethan stared at her. "How do I stop it?" Emily pointed toward the crystal. "Destroy it!" A deafening roar erupted from the tunnel. The Watcher burst into the chamber. Its body twisted with rage. Its glowing eyes locked onto Ethan. The creature lunged. At the last possible second, Ethan grabbed a fallen iron rod from the floor and drove it into the crystal. The chamber exploded with light. A shockwave blasted through the underground tunnels. The Watcher screamed. Its body began to crack. Dark shadows poured from its skin. Hundreds of trapped souls emerged and filled the room. For the first time in over 100 years, they were free. The creature collapsed to its knees. Then its body dissolved into dust. Gone forever. The mansion above trembled violently. The curse was broken. Moments later, Ethan escaped through the collapsing tunnels and emerged outside just as Ravenwood House crumbled into ruins behind him. The sun rose over Blackthorn Forest. For the first time in generations, the darkness was gone. As Ethan looked back, he saw Emily standing among the morning light. She smiled, then slowly faded away. The trapped souls had finally found peace, and the house that had claimed countless lives would never harm anyone again. The legend of Ravenwood House was over. At last, someone had survived all 7 nights. The end.
Welcome back, friends. I hope you watched the whole video and enjoyed a lot. Please show your love and support. For more videos, like, share, comment, subscribe and hit the bell icon button. Thank you.